Well, hello friends and good morning. Welcome to my outer studio where I have set up a teleprompter which will allow me to read things so that it doesn't look like I'm reading from a script. And that's where I'm coming from you today. I will show you a couple more images here, still shots of what the room looks like. I've got a work table, I've got a copy stand, I've got another computer and a bunch of other stuff set up here. But anyway, at least that's what it looks like, okay? Anyway, so at least it won't look like I'm reading from a script, which is important sometimes with students. Now, for this week I'm concentrating on the question, what is the why in one or more of your courses for learning without AI assistance? Well, unlike many of you who are dealing with students' written responses, I'm dealing primarily with students' visual or sketch responses. What I'm trying to avoid is to have students rely on AI to do the conceptual drawings for them because AI is pretty good at it. For example, this past semester, one of my capstone classes, I had asked students to sketch some solutions for embroidered shoulder patches for an ad campaign that we were working on. The assignment was to create supportive materials to go along with a campaign to foster the use of native plants over lawns and turf grass, which is prominently used presently in urban landscaping. Now, a little backdrop. These are students who I have had for at least 4 years already, and so I know their conceptual sketching abilities. Unfortunately, I find my graphic design students' ability to think and sketch adequately to be quite dismal. That is what's going past at present. They seem not to understand the connection between confident, quick ideation sketching and graphic design, and are more than willing to do shortcuts wherever possible. I have over the past 10 years taken on the task of trying to teach students to draw confidently, which is very important. Most semesters I have maybe 5 students out of my class of 20 who take me up on this and undertake the job of upping their skill levels. I have been using the One Button Studio located in A223 and using the glass panel drawing computer to show them how to construct perspective drawings, 1, 2, and 3-point perspective constructions, how to quickly depict simple objects, cast shadows, and even organize their sketches with notes so that these can be used to show their conceptual thinking prior to going into digital means to convey their ideas. I should mention that I do not discourage the use of digital sketching, which can now be achieved using apps like Procreate and SketchUp, just to name a few. But these tools still require students to understand drawing to begin with. Sketching is a language that designers need to understand, and it is a skill that employers continually stress that they want their designers to use and to understand. Many hours can be eliminated and many mistakes can be remedied by using quick back-of-the-napkin type sketches which can be handled on the fly between designers in a quick meeting while discussing problems. I often tell my students by way of a true story. About 8 years ago, I had a design student of mine return after hours to one of my classes and look me up to tell me how they were doing. He relayed to me that when he was first out of his 4-year program, the very first job interview that he had, he was asked to show his sketchbook before anything else. Before they wanted to look at his cleaned up final designs or his finished models and mock-ups, they wanted to see rough sketches of everything. He relayed that had it not been for me beating them up about this, that he might not have taken that seriously and would not have included such a thing as inventory of interview-related materials. So then, to circumvent this, I'm going to try implementing the following into all of my courses going forward as a first assignment, or an icebreaker if you will. I envision a short 2-week sketch assignment to ascertain my students' drawing abilities before we get too far into the semester. In my face-to-face classes, this is easy enough. I just provide them some copier paper, some pencils and erasers, and ask them to take 2 or 3 class periods to show them how some things are done up on the whiteboard with markers. I then ask them to produce the same sorts of drawings and see what they come up with, communicate to them how critical this is, and ask them to incorporate this thinking into everything that they do in my assignments going forward. That is, every assignment critique will be started by presenting ideation sketches before proceeding to final designs. In short, no concept sketches, no grades. For my online classes, as you might imagine, this process will be complicated by not being present face-to-face with my students as I am in a physical classroom. To remedy this, I'm going to ask them to obtain an inexpensive device like this smartphone tripod, and then ask them to record themselves either using a video or still screen captures of them drawing conceptually what they are proposing for their designs. They can use my glass panel videos as reference, and or I have provided them with many hours of tutorials that I've linked them to in another Canvas shell that I call TESA's Helpful Stash under the modules entitled simply Drawing and Sketching. This is another whole class that I've created, and every time that I have a design class, I link them to TESA's Helpful Stash, and it allows them to get in and look at stuff without having to go searching for all this stuff on their own online. This first assignment will be graded very gently, and I will expect my students to engage in a discussion about it, where they present their drawings to one another and then discuss their successes and failures while attempting to do some sketches. This process will be the same for my in-person class. In my online classes, I'm going to incorporate this discussion as a census project where each week students are required to report in outside of normal discussions and assignments by way of ensuring me that they are still actively a part of the class. I've been doing this census projects for several semesters now, and I found that my dropout rate has improved markedly. So in closing, I would like to ask you all what you think of this idea. It's probably a considerable amount of work, both on my part and the students, in assignments that don't seem to be completely related to assignments that they're working on, but it goes a long ways towards linking the importance of sketching to what they do. I realize that it's somewhat burdensome by way of having to obtain a tripod and a smartphone, but most of them have these devices, and it's very easy using Panopto to upload videos and show what you're doing. I even include videos that show them how to do this. Anyway, let me know what you think. Ciao.